Forget it. Like, I also have to ask her about the mom's license for Word that we share. I gotta figure that out. This podcast is just like my errands that I have to do. I have to ask you about the Instagram thing. I have to ask Becky about the Word license that we share. We should do a podcast on how many things as adults we still don't pay for.
Just dying. All right, we're starting again. All right, welcome to the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This is where three siblings break down anything they would like in the pop culture world. I'm joined by my two sisters, Becky, calling in from California.
Hello.
How you doing, Beck?
I'm great.
Terrific. And then all the way many time zones away in the Canary Islands, my sister Lily. How are you, Lil?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. All right. After many tries and practice runs, maybe we'll do like a big outtakes, behind the scenes episode one day when this is a huge hit. This is actually.
I don't think people want to listen to this in general, let alone our outtakes.
Well, hopefully, Mom and Dad will listen to this, and for a few minutes, if they can figure out how to load it on their iPhones. So we'll answer the first most important question. What is the Friday Night Movie Podcast? The Friday Night Movie is a family tradition from our childhood that was born out of the ashes of TGIF. You all remember the TGIF lineup of our childhood. There was Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, and then a variety of things, including Just the 10 of Us and the thing with the puppet dinosaurs and Step by Step.
Oh, yeah, the puppet dinosaurs.
Yeah,
You mean just dinosaurs?
Yeah, they don't do
That was a weird show, man.
They don't do puppet dinosaur shows anymore for adults the way they did with that. Anyways, as we got older in our teenage years, when I was about 16, and Dad was traveling to and from the UK, he'd come home and he'd fall asleep on the floor while we were watching television. I'd sneak off to my room to talk to my friends or listen to music and do things that teenagers did. It's unclear to me what you were both up to. Perhaps you still enjoyed the television shows. But the fabric of our Friday nights, which had been this awesome, fun family time experience, started to fall apart. And one night we were sitting at the dinner table and Dad spontaneously says, well, why don't we just go see a movie? And we pulled out the old Montreal Gazette newspaper movie section, back when you had to look up movies based on what was in the newspaper and hope that what was printed was real. And we pulled out the movie Last Man Standing, starring Bruce Willis in 1996, knowing that Dad loves a good action movie. And
that was the first Friday Night movie?
Yeah, I don't recall ever even seeing that movie.
I don't even think I've seen that movie. That was definitely not the first movie.
Oh,
well,
contested.
No. I think it was like Dragonheart.
Dragonheart was in there.
Dragonheart is way later.
Dragonheart, Lily can check the date. She's going to be our researcher. But Last Man Standing for sure, because Dad wanted to see, as he calls it, a shoot-'em-up action movie, like all dads from the 80s and 90s, as shown in our favorite show, The Goldbergs, with Murray. Loves all those action movies. And Last Man Standing...
Oh, wait. Oh. Becky has... I'm sorry. I apologize, Becky Corman. Dragonheart, 1996, Shy.
Wait, so Last Man Standing is 1996.
Dragonheart. I have never seen Last Man
Exactly, and I was like, Becky has to be wrong because Last Man Standing, Dragonheart is way later, and no, it's not. It's 1996. Becky's arguing with you, saying that this was the first Friday Night movie.
This was the first one, and I've never seen Last Man Standing.
Neither have I, so I think, Shy, you might be wrong. I definitely remember Sean Connery as a voice of a dragon now.
Okay, Lily, while I'm telling the story, go and look up the release dates of these movies. I remember going to see Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis, which is a remake of a...
Do you remember the month? Because they're both released in 1996.
Okay, Dragonheart released May
31st,
96.
And...
Man Standing.
20th of September, 1996.
So maybe it was.
So it has to be the May
So it
one.
was Dragonheart.
Because
No, impossible. Impossible. Well, this is like a very dark question to ask.
No, it was no.
100%
I know what you're gonna say. It was
Right.
Dragonheart. We don't need to go into like sad family history on the other podcast.
Right, but what we're talking about is that if you're saying Shy, it's 1996. Are you saying it's on the beginning end of 1996 or the latter
No.
end? And if we're
No,
gonna,
it's the middle of 1996. It's May 1996. That makes sense actually, because Dad was traveling to and from the UK for a whole year, and Dragonheart
But that was in
100% was a movie we saw as a Friday night movie. So let's just say
no. He was
no,
Oh no.
it could be to September though, because that would be the end, like the beginning of
Either
quote
way,
unquote
I've never
year.
seen Last Man Standing.
So I think Shy, you're wrong.
Well, I was trying to figure out why Mom and Dad would have taken a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old to a movie that was that violent. In any event, thus began a tradition that it's fun when we run into people from our childhood from Montreal. Thus began a tradition of us going on Friday nights to the movies. We'd even we'd shortchange. We would always do Shabbat, but we'd sometimes eat challah in the car in order to make some 7 o'clock movie. And Mom and Dad got so good at driving to the Guzzo Cinema out on the highway that was about 20 minutes away that they'd figured out that we could leave our house when the preview started and still not miss any of the movie. But the best part of it was that after every movie, we'd have the car ride back, or we'd go for TCBY yogurt, and we'd break down all of the movies and rate the movies, and we give them stars based on our own star system that we had created in terms of ratings, and we'd argue, and I think all of us have continued that love of movies and pop culture throughout our life. And what I wanted to do here was to bring the three of us together to, aside from interrupt each other and argue over dates and make fun of our parents, share our thoughts on various movies. And we're going to start all the way back in 1996. We're going to go Friday night movie I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. We're actually going to talk about, we're going to throw out some questions, and we're going to talk about movies that we've seen recently. We're going to talk about shows that we're watching. It's the same thing that we do when we're on the phone, or when we're having dinner, or when we're hanging out together. And with that, does anyone have anything else to share on the notion of the Friday night movie?
No, let's move on to the found money.
You don't want to do the news item first?
Oh, shit, I forgot. You're right. Pop culture news this week. Becky brought to our attention that they're remaking Overboard.
Just so unnecessary.
Is it necessary or not? That's the first question.
Well, first of all, it's not. It's not necessary. That movie holds up.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I agree with you. It's not. And it's also, as Becky brought up in our text, the premise is for sure illegal and definitely super sexist for the 80s. So
Super
I don't know how
too.
they
You're
would
gonna kidnap a woman with a traumatic brain injury and turn her into your house slave.
and slash lover. Becky's right. It definitely
Are
is
we
not
sure
okay.
it wasn't based on a Shakespeare play? Because I feel like that's a very Shakespearean story.
No, it was just directed by Gary Marshall. That's about it. You know.
The new one? No,
the old one, the original.
Sorry.
So I didn't watch it as many
makes
times
no
as you,
sense.
but in the lead up to us talking, the movie, I raised the movie Overboard with a number of people, and the span of generations of people that must have watched this on TBS with commercials, or had a VHS that was taped off the television. It is amazing. I don't remember it that well, other than that she's mean to him at the beginning, she falls off the boat, and then at the end they fall in love.
Okay,
how could you not remember that movie? There are so many memorable moments when they get when they glue the plates to her hand, when they all get chicken pox. Like, there's so many good moments in that movie.
But it starts off with her being married to, like, the guy who was eventually on the Gilmore Girls, who passed away. I can check that out for you. But,
Fancy Pants guy.
Yeah, he's such a great actor. Shy, you'll know him as, give me a second, Edward Herman, 2 R's, 2 N's. You'd recognize him, like, he's been in everything. He famously was the, like, dad on Gilmore Girls.
So
he's been in everything. Anyways,
we started Gilmore Girls
away.
and watched an episode, and it seemed nice, but just never got back to it. But anyway, so back.
Yeah. Anyways, the point is that she's married to him. She's super rich. She accidentally falls off the boat one night looking for her ring, or like her wedding ring, her engagement ring, or whatever. And then gets picked up, has amnesia, and her husband. This is worse. This like makes it so much worse. Her actual husband doesn't want to claim her. Because he sees her on the news, and he's like, ugh, I don't want to go get her. She's such a brat. I'm going to, like, enjoy the lap of luxury here. Because it's her money. It's not his. And he's, like, got, like, hookers and stuff on his yacht. And he just, like, doesn't go and get her. And then Kurt Russell sees it and is like, this is an opportunity to, like, screw with this woman. Because she's awful, and he wanted to get revenge on her, so he goes and picks her up when nobody claims her.
Isn't he also like a widower with a heart of gold who is sort of working out his issues?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got 3 kids. He has the dream of owning his own mini golf.
4 sons?
All right. So back to the news pieces. Beck, what do we know about this? Is there like anything?
Okay, all we know is that they're remaking it as a like role reversal. Right, so now it's going to be the woman, I guess, kidnapping the man with amnesia.
Yes.
And it's going to be starring Anna Faris. I'm into that. I am totally down with Anna Faris doing the Goldie Hawn role. That holds up for me.
That's the annoying thing to me. I think she would have been amazing.
She's the Kurt Russell?
She's the Kurt Russell,
like
which
the Goldie Hawn now being the Kurt Russell. And this other guy,
John Segarra, which there's no other people on this casting list.
I gotta say, and I think we all agree with this, I love Anna Faris. Anna Faris can play Kurt Russell. She definitely can play Goldie Hawn.
Yeah. She could, right. I just wish that they would have...
Eugenio, I don't know. Lily, you know how to pronounce
I just wish they would have... No, I don't. Eugenio Derbez? That's the rich yacht guy?
Yeah. I just am like...
How do you know? Because his name is...
He's a Variety article, and he's no...
Leonardo? He's not attractive looking, I'm not going to lie.
No Kurt Russell. He is no Kurt Russell.
In any event.
No.
He's Mexican, which is interesting, but it's...
Does that make it kind of racist, then, if she kidnaps a Mexican man with a brain injury and turns him into her house slave?
This is questionable.
Ooh, that's loaded. This is getting very loaded, guys.
Do you now I feel this is going to get recast before it shows.
We will stay on top of the
Overboard remake.
But Overboard does bring up an important thing that I think we talk about a lot, which is those movies that when you pop them on TBS, even with commercials, you can't stop watching them. Like, I know that when I go to watch something on Netflix or on HBO, I know what movie I'm going to watch, right? Like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch, Wonder Woman or the latest Tarantino movie or something. I don't know. Something where, like, I paid for it even on iTunes. But just before I started, I need to flip the channels to see if something's on that I, like, had found, which is why it's like a found money movie. And if I find that movie mid-movie, I will watch it all the way to the end. We all know my wife has a long list of these, most involving Bridget Jones, A Diary, or The Holiday. But I will... Love, actually. But I wanted to know from you guys, what are your found money movies? I have a kind of a weird list.
Well, I need to start with the fact that, like, I don't have TV channels. I only do streaming.
We mean theoretically.
I'm rarely in the situation.
But theoretically.
But I don't even think you can theorize this, because sometimes you don't even realize that the movie would be your movie until you're in the situation. You're like,
I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point.
You know,
However,
and I think oftentimes they're slightly shameful. Like, you're a little bit embarrassed. You're like, I'd rather be watching this than, you know, than the thing I paid for. Like, I will admit that there was a period of time when I had to move back in with Mom and Dad, and I think I watched Avatar like 6 times in 1 month because it was just always on HBO, and I couldn't not finish it.
So that would be one of yours.
But, like, I don't know it would be that today, but I don't know that it wouldn't. I mean,
but one of the things I was
gonna
if you couldn't really tap into the feeling, I was gonna lay out the setting, which is, imagine this, Beck. You've lost your job. You're living at Mom and Dad's house for an extensive period of time. You're flipping through channels, and you don't want to watch NCIS with Mom at that moment.
Yeah, or you're just visiting them, and you flip through their million channels.
No,
I think it's her job.
I don't know. I wanted to make it dramatic.
Scenario. To be fair, when I had to move back in with them, I was still working. All right. Okay. I would say that I actually think, though, that for me, one of those movies, and it's because of like a childhood, you know, association with it, would be Terminator 2. Like, I can't imagine turning Terminator 2 on at any point and not having to finish it. Because we had that one tape, remember? The tape, it had Terminator 2 and, like, Gremlins 2 on it, so all, like, the part 2 were, like, on one tape. Any of those I'd have to finish. Yeah, probably. I'd have to, like, watch all of those.
That's awesome.
But Terminator 2, man.
Oh yeah, that movie is absolutely timeless.
That's
like one of the reasons why the other Terminator movies, and I've liked some, I haven't liked others, I think don't hold up, is that they just peaked with number 2. You can't. That movie is still awesome and scary in its own way. I mean.
It was terrifying.
Yeah, I remember seeing that also way too young. It's amazing how lax movie theaters were when we were kids.
Maybe I just have like a, you know, like a strange James Cameron thing.
Huh, that's right. 2 James Cameron
think about
movies.
it.
How many times did you see Titanic? What was that?
First of all, I was 12 years old. Second, I don't want to talk about it. I don't feel like that's...
It's in the teens, that's all I'm going to say.
Whatever.
It surpasses 10.
No.
Yes, 14 times.
7.
You saw it.
7. In theaters.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure...
And then by the time it came out, it was on the double VHS. That's how long ago we're
double
talking.
VHS.
You have to like watch half and then like switch the VHS halfway through.
Double VHS. Movies that were double VHS back in the day. The Godfather Part 2. The Godfather Part 1.
Gone with the Wind. I rented
and Meet Joe Black.
Double VHS.
For some reason, Meet Joe...
That's my secret. Probably, if it's on, I have to watch it.
Oh.
Brad Pitt is eating peanut butter for 3.5 hours. Nothing like a weird.
All right, Lil, what's one of your movies other than Meet Joe Black?
Okay, I'll give.
And wait, Lil, you're gonna have to stop yelling into the microphone because I'm watching the sound waves literally blow up in the software.
Okay, I'll talk softer.
Oh, that's so much better.
I will say that this one that I'm going to tell you is because it's from an experience story of it being on multiple times and me not being able to stop. So, like, it wouldn't be a go-to of mine. It's just that it's happened to me, like with Becky and Avatar. Okay? So that with Becky's Avatar, my Avatar would be The Notebook.
Ooh.
I can't not watch.
How could you even watch that more than once?
I can't not watch that movie if it's on. Then
traumatized from
The Breakfast Club. If that is on, if I happen upon that movie, I have to watch it. I have to watch 13 Going on 30. It's like a sickness.
Yeah, we know about
like
that
It's like one of my favorite movies.
Gotta eat some razzles and watch 13 Going on 30.
Like one that I absolutely know is true is, besides Empire Records, which I love that movie so much, would be Bull Durham is my secret. That movie's on, I have to watch it.
Really? That movie's like weirdly long though.
I love that movie.
I did not even know, like, I feel like I know what movies you guys have seen, and I know you guys really well. I mean, even though we live far apart, I mean, we talk almost every day. And I feel like I don't know you now. Like, I didn't even know you'd ever seen Bull Durham till this moment.
Oh my god, It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite movies, not like my top 5, but like I love that movie. I've seen it way too many times. And you and I recently talked about it, and you were like, "That movie's not that good." I feel like I mentioned it.
There's like there's the one great. I don't know if it counts as a monologue because I don't know anything about actually making movies, but the Wet Kisses monologue and I know that Tim Robbins is pitching in underwear a lot in the movie, but it's actually like when people talk about like great sports movies of all time, it's always listed. It's always listed, I think, and.
It's not a sports movie. It's a love story. That's why it's not really a sports movie.
Yeah, like For Love of the Game, which has love in the title, is a much better baseball movie to me than Bull Durham. As is Field of Dreams. So here we've done the Kevin Costner baseball trio that I can.
Where does Rookie of the Year rate on
Rookie of the Year?
That's Rookie of the Year.
No, The Sandlot beats Rookie of the Year.
Is Rookie of the Year the one where Dennis Quaid's an old baseball player, or is that the one with the kid from American Pie?
Okay. American Pie.
What?
I don't know who's talking about which movie now.
American Pie is Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
No.
Did you list your found monies?
He emailed them to us, so we can just move on.
I emailed them to you, so you wouldn't pick the same ones as me. Okay, so my found money.
I don't think we run the risk of that.
First of all, after having heard yours, it gives me so much joy because they're 1,000 times more interesting and funny than mine are. So, number 1 for me is if any of the Lethal Weapon movies are on, even number 4.
Good point.
Even part 4?
Part 4 maybe not, but 1, 2, or 3.
Part 3?
Part 3 is fantastic. They blow up the building at the beginning, and there's the super bullets that shoot through metal. The super bullets, and then doesn't someone get killed with a nail gun, and there's like a big fire? The nail gun is in Lethal Weapon 2. But I love those movies. I love the way the characters change. I remember taping Lethal Weapon 1 off the television with all those swear words taken out as a kid and watching it for my first time, and then watching Lethal Weapon 2 the same way. I've seen them so many times, and so that one is big for me. And for making plugs for shows that we're watching, Allie and I truly love the TV show. It is a lot of fun. And so those are big. The Lethal Weapon ones are big for me. I Love You Man is a big one for me. I really don't know how that movie grew on me so much. I mean, I thought it was funny the first time I saw it.
Hank Mardukas is in it.
That is true. Our uncle, for those who are listening that are probably related to us and know this story anyway, our uncle thinks that the whole reference to Hank Mardukas in that movie is the funniest thing in the world, and will randomly send you a text message and sign it from Hank Mardukas. Like we were sitting at a wedding once, one of the family weddings, and we're just sending each other text messages saying funny things attributed to Hank Mardukas. So that one has a deep, warm place in my heart. As far as serious movies that I'll watch, again, a movie I saw in the theater that I liked, but for some reason when it's on television, The Departed just gets me so hooked in. I just go all the way to the end.
I find that movie just it's like too much.
It is sad. It is a lot. But that's Marky Mark and Leo and all those guys really at their best. I mean, it's fantastic. Oh my
Can you do this
god.
on like an iPad? Like, why?
And I was worried we weren't going to have Mom on this episode and she would feel left out, but she clearly channeled herself through
It's
Lily.
not fair that I was 10 minutes early. I was 10 minutes early.
You sound amazing, though.
Sound good now.
I was 10 minutes early.
Well, you sound
And
like
I
you're
had
underwater.
everything organized.
No, you
Still
sound
kind of
great,
sound like
Lily.
underwater, but it's better. So.
Okay, I'm about to hang up and go do something else if Becky doesn't
right.
stop complaining.
Here you'll pick up part 2 of the Friday Night Movie Podcast mid-discussion about the movie Baby Driver. I elected to edit out the first 15 minutes of this conversation because it's mostly Becky just yelling at Lily and me for making her watch the movie, which she hated. Going forward, we promise to have much shorter episodes of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. In fact, at the time that I am recording this intro, we've already done episode 2, and it is in fact shorter. I can confirm that. It will only be one part. Shall we set the scene of the movie at all, or do you just want to get at it?
Let's just get at it.
It's a heist movie.
Tell me what's redeemable about it, other than it's like very stylized.
It's like chaotic. That Kevin Spacey wasn't that predictable.
There's no story. Oh my god, not that predictable. The whole bullshit at the end of like, oh, you're in love, of course I'll help you. Like, what?
Oh,
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I
that's why
guess.
he helps him?
The movie makes no sense. Yeah,
Or
that's
like,
the
I'm
only reason
gonna
he helps
murder you
him.
if you don't do this heist. Hey, do you actually want to do this heist? Because if you want to get out of it, that's totally cool. What?
No, he didn't mean that. He was gonna murder him. The fact that he dies for him, like takes a bullet for him, that was a bit weird.
Lily, okay, think about it. Yes, it's flashy and beautiful, and it had a really cool trailer, but this movie, when you break it down, was terrible.
It got better reviews than Logan Lucky, which makes me sad.
I watched
Because
it.
I don't think it's a better
I watched
movie.
it, and I actually felt while I was watching it, oh my god, people don't know how to make movies anymore. They don't know how to write movies, and because of that, we are in a culture where people think this is good. This is a terrible
The problem
movie.
is that I'm afraid you saw it out of context because this director has made similar movies.
No.
You have
What?
to talk quieter into the microphone. My ears are bleeding.
Oh, sorry.
It does not matter if you made something good before. If this is a piece of crap that stands on its own as a piece of crap, it doesn't make your other movies better or worse.
No, but it's in the same vein as his other movies. I would say in Shaun of the Dead.
That 1,000 times. Shaun of the Dead is like an actually good, interesting movie with like a great plot and character development. This is just...
Well, I would say the structure of this film reminds me of Scott Pilgrim, and I hate that movie. And this I liked better.
Okay, but when I wrote to you guys and I said this is barely watchable, I actually changed it from unwatchable to barely watchable because as I was texting that, it was the moment in which John Hamm gets like falls off the building and dies, and I was like, oh, that was actually really funny how he died. And so I was like, all right, barely watchable. You've gone from unwatchable to barely watchable because that was a good kill scene, but that was it.
No, when the scene when
Also, okay, I have so many.
Jamie Foxx
I
dies.
actually have notes about this because I have questions like, why do all of his flashbacks take place in the 70s, but he's using an iPod? When was this kid born? None of this makes sense to me. Do you not remember that? Why are his
empty attempt at being stylish? Becky,
Why
did
are
you
his-
write that on IMDb?
Why are his flash forwards in the 1950s? This makes sense. It's like random, like saturated colors and poodle skirts for no reason throughout this whole.
I will say it makes no sense that his flash forwards are in the 50s, unless he idealized that musical era.
But he doesn't
because he seems very
from all eras and all genres.
right, exactly. So that's why his flashbacks might be in the 70s, representing his musical tastes. He had the trauma in the 90s, which is why he has the iPod and maintains the iPod, and then he idealizes the 50s, and that's his.
The first iPod didn't come out until 2003.
Yeah, but this kid is young. He probably was a kid in 2003.
No, that makes sense that he would be a kid in 2003. I don't have a problem with his age and the timeline. I have a problem with the fact that the flashbacks take place in the 70s.
Yeah, I think that has to do with like the musical connection. I feel like that's not an accident. It's so stylized, nobody made that mistake. I think it's just, you might not appreciate it. I just feel like,
No. And then there's just the fact that literally this movie is about nothing until the end of the third act.
So...
Which should have been the first act, which then would have been your setup for the chase scenes and the heists and stuff throughout the rest of the movie.
So let's break down a couple of the performances, because I think the main reason why I wanted to see this movie, other than I'm married to someone who loves a good heist movie, is I wanted to see this guy who's going to be playing Han Solo in the new Han Solo movie.
He's not.
It's that other kid.
He's not playing Han Solo.
I told you that.
He's not playing Han Solo?
Nope.
No, it's the guy from that.
He was up for it.
So wait, who's playing Han Solo?
Not playing him. Jamie Costa.
No, yeah, it's the guy from what's it called? Wait. Who's Jamie Costa? I don't know who this kid is.
The guy who's playing Baby in Baby Driver
no idea who this
is Han Solo.
I don't know. It's not him.
What?
No, he's not. He was up for it, but he never got it.
I thought that other kid got it from whatchamacallit, from Hail Caesar.
That's not the same guy?
And probably, yeah.
That's a good one. I
Oh, well then I don't really know what the point of this movie was then.
Oh, you know what it is? Yeah, Alden, I can't even say his last name. I thought he was
Alden Ehrenreich.
Henrik. I thought he was supposed to be he is in the Han Solo movie.
That's Han Solo. Alden Ehrenreich.
Because, I got very confused because in this movie, the Ansel Elgort was dressed like Han Solo in A New Hope, like the whole movie. So I just assumed this was just, like someone threw some money at this movie just so they could screen test this guy in the Han Solo outfit so people would be psychologically ready for him to play Han.
No, he was up for it. You are not wrong. He was up for it. He even was interviewed about it and was like, I really hope I get it. He did not get it.
No, this guy,
Alden
Ehrenreich. Whatever, he got it. He's awesome. He's great in Hail Caesar. He's really good in it.
He might be great in Hail Caesar. He was in Tetro and like Blue Jasmine, but I don't know if I see him as... I think Ansel would have been great as Han Solo because he looks like Harrison.
He's a little oversaturated, Plus, if you put him in a movie, don't you have to put Shailene Woodley in a movie? And, let's be honest, she's not
I like her. She's lovely.
That's a good point. She's lovely. She seems like a really nice person.
She's like a great person. She's not a very good actor.
I don't know how to evaluate her as an actor, but she seems fine. Okay, so let's quickly go around and do our stars on this movie. And just to go through the rating system, 5 stars is you think it should win or is a contender for Best Picture.
5 stars.
4 stars is great movie, loved it. 3 stars, it was worth the money in the context that you saw it. So if you saw it in the theater and it was a fun big screen movie, 3 stars. 2 stars is where it gets most interesting because maybe you liked it, but maybe you overpaid for it, or maybe it's just Netflix. And then below 2, you probably didn't like it.
I would say 2. It was good enough for a Saturday night. We didn't have to pay for it.
Because I paid for it.
Sorry, you had to pay for it. Yeah. But whatever, so leave the money out of it. It was we needed something actiony that, that was entertaining. I think that the second half was better, but it also was a bit, surprising to me.
Just rewatch
I didn't know what to expect. It was enough. It was good enough. I would say it could have been way better, but I don't think it pretends to be way better. I think this guy, this director consciously chose to make a chaotic, nonsensical film with these actors and these characters, and that's what he chose to do, and nobody stopped him.
It's terribly written. It's just a terribly written film. So for me, it doesn't matter how good the style is. If the story doesn't hold together, it's meaningless.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I don't like his writing style. I think Shaun of the Dead is like his only good movie, pretty much. So I'm not like a huge fan of his writing. I think there was enough. The casting was good enough that I was entertained to watch it. I wouldn't see it again, and I would definitely not sure I'd recommend it. But I would say it was like had enough shoot 'em up aspect that I was like entertained.
Right. So what's
for a
Becky's
Saturday
stars?
night.
Like, I liked the chase scene, so I'll give it a star.
Okay. So I give it like a 2.5, or like a 2 like plus, meaning I didn't love it, but I was fine watching it at home. To me, it suffered from being in the context of Logan Lucky, which I thought touched on similar things and just did it way, 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 way better. So that's where it leaves me with Baby Driver. Before we head out, do either of you have anything that you're watching?
Wait. I have one more thing.
Sorry.
Hold on, I want to say about this. We're doing a little IMDbing. And Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, he co-wrote with Simon Pegg, which is probably one of the good movies.
Right, I was gonna say he didn't write them alone.
So
that's
those
why. And Scott Pilgrim.
I'm really defaulting to the fact this guy Edward Wright is very overrated.
Well,
maybe he's like a nice guy, which is why people want to work with him. But like,
I don't know if I mean, I wouldn't say overrated. I think he's just rated. I don't think he's like up, for any awards.
Anyway, so Shai, you want to know what else we're watching these days?
But I'll say just on the Simon Pegg thing, I like Simon Pegg, and I think he's a good writer, and I think that the last Star Trek movie, which I believe he wrote, is underrated and was a lot of fun.
Well, he did write Scott Pilgrim with 2 other people, and that is the worst movie I've ever seen.
No, a huge Simon Pegg.
All right, so what else are you watching these days that you want to talk about before we head out?
Mindhunter.
I just saw the first episode of Walking Dead.
Of your life?
Yeah, last night.
Hi.
Last night, Vlad said as a palate cleanser I needed to watch something. To watch something else, so we put on the first episode.
That is not what you watch to cleanse your palate.
It's a very emotional zombie show, I'll say that.
Are you kidding me? Why do you think I'm enthralled and addicted and I've been watching for the last 8 years of my life?
Very emotional. All right,
I am firmly in the funny action comedy zombie movie with the occasional diversion zone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not interested in the social implications of zombie world. Yeah.
But you know what? I'd have to say, Shai, I'm not going to lie, since finishing Orphan Black, it's been a little bit hard for me to get into something new.
Yeah, oh, man.
What's on your Orphan Black?
I have a few other shows that I'm into these days. I'm loving The Good Place. I'm really intrigued by Ghosted. I hope it's given a chance to stay on the air and develop, because A, I love those 2 guys, and B, why not have something with ghosts and a little bit of sci-fi as opposed to just another workplace comedy. The Goldbergs, of course, is just killing it. Killing it.
The last 2 episodes have just been, the Revenge of the Goldbergs, Revenge of the Gold Nerds, has been amazing. Well, that was amazing, and the wrestling one. They're really raising the bar this season. 5 seasons in,
and I'm just deeper into it. I'm rewatching episodes. I'm listening to the very awesome Gold Nerds podcast on a regular basis. It's like having a regular DVD commentary every week, and going back and watching the commentary tracks on the DVD. That show, I hope we get another 5 years out of it. It's just totally awesome.
Well, I watched Mindhunter, so there. Thank you guys for letting me contribute.
Tell us about Mindhunter.
No, because you nerds only watch happy things. That's why I'm the only one that watches weird psycho killer depressing shows with my husband. It's actually really fascinating. It is. Well, it started with when Charlize Theron was filming Monster, a phenomenal film, very difficult to watch. she had to like get into the mind of a serial killer, so she read John Douglas's biography, and he is like one of the foremost experts on serial killers and profiling, and started basically the idea of profiling with the FBI for serial killers. And he's the character that in Silence of the Lambs, the guy, whoever Jodie Foster goes to like consult with about Hannibal Lecter, is based on. So there's that. And so Charlize Theron read the book and was like, I have to make something out of this, but it should be a TV show, not a movie, because it's like so complex. And she said the only one that could do it is David Fincher. And so she approached Fincher, and he agreed to make the show on Netflix. And what I like about, I thought it was cool, is that like a classic like Fincher actor, like it's been in so many of his movies as a side character, is now one of the main characters. And he was like, it was like his dream, like he got to be finally like a protagonist in a Fincher project, which was cool. You'll recognize him, the actor, if you see his face. He's like in a ton of movies. And so the show is basically about this young FBI agent who gets the idea about like he's interested in criminal behavior, psychology, and gets the idea if they were to interview serial killers, they could learn and understand what could be possible things to have them identify other serial killers and to prevent serial killers, like for early detection and early prevention in children that like exhibit these behaviors around like teenage years,
like killing
like killing animals, like that whole thing that we like the you know the trope that we know about like what makes a serial killer, like signs of it.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because like
pronto. Sí. Ahora voy en un minuto. And so, sorry. It's my son and my mother-in-law.
I'm concerned that this is the best
I
part.
have to edit that out, but my mom-in-law's here with my son.
I know, I'm like
Lily's
mesmerized.
really good at explaining things, I will say. We could do an hour of Lily explaining shows. You know, I've never seen an episode of Lost, but know everything that happened on that show because Lily has explained it episode for episode. It's amazing.
The point is that he goes like all these things that we know about, like the killing of animals and torture and stuff like that of like smaller creatures, that comes from these interviews, relationship with women and problems with their mom and like being sexually impotent or stuff like that, having that kind of stuff comes from this research. And him, another agent, and Olivia Dunham from Fringe, she's in it, she plays this psychologist who joins the FBI, so she's a real woman too. Like they have different names in the show, but they represent real people. They do this team together to try and figure out, like, get behind, and they coined the term serial killer. First they call it a sequenced killer, and then eventually, like in the first season, you see how they come about with that. And then they take liberties, of course, on their personal lives and on But what's fascinating is that every person that he interviews in the first season, he really interviewed in real life. Like there's a lot of very big if you go down the rabbit hole of researching these real people and the interviews with them, it's quite well done. The acting is great. It's a slow show. It's not like really suspenseful. It's more of like, I guess, a drama, but I thought it was very interesting and well done. And then we finished that first season and segued right into Night Of, which is like a perfect segue, slow and like interesting suspense thriller kind of thing. So that's what we're watching.
That's really cool. Wow, see, you sold me on Mindhunter. I totally want to check it out.
Yeah, if you the whole idea of like the whole serial killer thing like is intriguing in a weird way, but like at a distance, this is good. The thing is that after every episode with every one that they interview, we went down the rabbit hole of like Googling these people. A lot of them are still alive and like are real, and then he talks about how like a few of them he in a weird way even became like friends with, which is like messed up. These are often like very brilliant people too, like a Hannibal Lecter kind of character, right? So it's like the kind of the dangerousness at a distance.
All right, well, on that note, talk to you guys next week.
Yeah. Well, we're actually going to try to do this since I have off. Let's try to do it again on Thursday.
All right.
But wait, before we go out, I feel like you should do some plugs of the various places people can follow the stuff you're working on. Beck, where can people follow your artistic?
I am like crushing it right now on the Everyday Out blog. If you want some like legit recipes, I have to tell you, being stuck at home under pregnancy house arrest has led to lots of cooking. So I recommend.
And the address is?
Everydayoat.com.
Awesome.
Cool.
And Lil,
You can find me on Twitter as Chi Gomez or Chi K Gomez. What is it?
I think it's Chi K Gomez.
Why, there was a Chi Gomez? No, it's not. There was a Chi Gomez already taken?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very popular name.
But you might want to explain why you use your Twitter handle.
Nope.
That's a mystery. Let's leave that for later.
Right.
I don't need
something to
tell anybody.
Fair enough. It's a mystery, but there is a story behind it.
Yeah.
And you can follow my shenanigans at Pancake for Table. That's pancake the number 4 and the word table on Instagram, Twitter, and also YouTube, where I do all my various, like I said, pop culture shenanigans. And thank you for listening. We'll be back with another Friday Night Movie Edition later in the week. Do a little dance for the outro music.
Okay, dancing. Don't hear it,
No,
but I'm
I'm
dancing.
going to edit it in afterwards. And then wait, so...
Do we have anything we're supposed to watch between now and then?
Just now that we know that we've done this, hey, are you guys happy with it? Are you okay with me?
I'm okay with it. I feel like these episodes should be half as long as they are. I don't feel like they need to be hour-long
So
episodes.
I can cut it down.
30-minute episodes.
I can cut it down.
Well, I think Lily just has to be more efficient in her storytelling.
I love Lily's storytelling. Maybe there can just be a podcast where it's Lily, like...
Half of this thing was your rant about Baby Driver. I just did 5 minutes on Mindhunter because I'm
First
committed.
of all, I think that we could have a whole podcast, like a subset of the various podcasts, that's just Lily tells you an entire movie or TV show from the beginning.
I'm telling you.
Never all right.
I'm not making fun of you. I was getting very
recommend-
relaxed.
Excuse me. I also highly recommend Ozark. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Netflix.
Watching it. It stresses Vlad out a lot. We haven't been able to watch
it's super. It's like stressy, but it's so good, and Jason Bateman is great. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I keep seeing that, and I'm like, how is this thing just there?
Right.
Sometimes these things sneak onto Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and I'm like, was this a great?
But it was great.
All right. I gotta pee again.
Love you guys.
All right. Awesome, peeps.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Bye.